was a kid, and her dad was the head coach at Oklahoma State. Um, and I talked to Les and Kathy on the phone on a couple of occasions. Um, and we even went in between Les being the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma State and coming back later as the head coach. When he was in Dallas, my son Zach and I went down to Dallas a couple of times and went to games with the Miles um, when he was with the Dallas Cowboys, which was kind of cool. Les was really good to us. And so, anyway, Smacker joins us now, and I'm a little bit cold on this. I haven't seen her since the game in Stillwater last year with Kansas. And I know she was doing some work for the University of Kansas. She's a broadcaster. Saw some of her high school broadcast in Louisiana, where she was working down there, which is good high school football. But what are you up to now, young lady?
I'm doing Dallas sports, so I work for, it's kind of freelance, but it runs on Dallas News at night. And it's a lot of fun. I've gotten to cover the Mavs and some SMU, mainly basketball, and then I've still gotten to do stuff with Kansas in the fall. So it's been really fun to get to do some different sports, but to also still be around the family.
So, are you living in Dallas or going back and forth between Dallas and Lawrence? What are you doing?
I live in Dallas, so I stay with the family
Okay.
when I'm in Lawrence, but I love to go back
Okay.
and forth, and it's always fun to go see them.
All right. Well, good. And I don't know if you've run into a friend of mine. Austin Ivan is the daughter of the Cowboys team doctor, Dr. Valjean Ivan. I know she's down in that North Texas, Austin area and does some of the same type stuff you're doing. She does some of the Fox, their high school Friday night coverage, on Fox Sports. So you may run into her at some
I
point
know
because she's doing
Austin. We
some.
we actually work for the
Okay.
same company. Yeah,
Okay.
I know Austin
All
really
right.
well. It's a
I thought
small
that might.
world, but it was always exciting to meet her. We immediately hit it
Yeah.
off with some Oklahoma State sports stuff.
No, I thought that might be the case. And Austin actually worked for me some when she was in college, doing some on camera stuff for some stuff I've got going. So
Oh,
that's
that's
good.
awesome.
Good deal. All right.
Yeah.
Were you actually born in? I think you were born in Stillwater, weren't you?
No, Manny was.
Your
I
brothers
was
were.
born in Ann Arbor, but we moved when I
Okay.
was 9 months old. So the first time, I
Okay.
don't remember anything of Ann Arbor. My first memories are Stillwater.
Okay. And then your brothers were born here.
Manny was, Ben was a Dallas baby. So
Okay, Ben.
Manny
Okay.
was Oklahoma State, then Ben was Dallas, and then Macy was Oklahoma State. So you're right. Two of the four Miles children
Two of
were
the four.
born in Stillwater. Yeah.
All right, there we go. We get it. We get it straight. But like you said, your first memories were Stillwater, and you did the Stillwater tour twice as a baby, and when you first got here, and then when your dad was head coach and came back. And when you look back on those times, Smacker, how much did you really understand? Hey, my dad's a big guy. I mean, he's the head football coach. This is, I mean, at what point did you realize that? Was it in Stillwater, or did it not happen until Baton Rouge?
Oh no, I can honestly say that my first real memories of being nervous about football were in Stillwater. I remember the way the tunnels crossed, and I remember seeing my dad on the jumbotron. It was like a one shot on him, like close up on his face and his eyes. And I remember having the thought, that's the face dad makes when he's mad, like when he's intense about something. So I remember not understanding football, like straight up. I didn't get it, obviously. I was little, but just seeing my dad's face and realizing this really matters. This matters to dad. And as a kid, you might not understand why, but you understand what. And for me, that was just it was a big moment. And it was a big moment. And starting to want to understand football because I did realize how much it mattered to my dad and my family.
Well, and not only your dad, but you were a product of uh, parents that were both coaches. And I'm going to guess, even though I never saw your mom coach in a game per se, that she probably, just knowing your mom, she seems to be a very competitive person. That she could probably be pretty intense as well. And we know your dad is capable of that. So what was that like growing up? Because you were into sports and obviously became a college athlete at the University of Texas. What's it like to be the product of two parents that are coaches?
It was exactly like you described it. It was very intense and it was really fun though. And I can honestly say a lot of coaches' kids look back and they really do feel like their dad wasn't there. And between my mom's ability to kind of give my dad play by play and then my dad's desire to know what happened even if he wasn't there, I look back and I really feel like my dad was a huge part of my childhood and that he pretty much had a beat on everything I was doing all the time because of my mom. So her love for sports really kind of bridged a gap between what could have been a gap between my dad and us kids, and it allowed us to pursue our sports careers in a way where we felt like it really mattered. And I even look back a lot and I kind of laugh sometimes because it's like I remember thinking that my swim meets really did matter as much as dad's football, and not in a way that his football didn't matter, in a way that they both just had great significance in our family. And we would get together at the end of a weekend and we would sit around the island and snack on something and talk about what our record was for the weekend, meaning our family record. So, like, if I had 6 swimming events and the boys had 2 soccer games and a baseball game and a little league flag football game, it was like we added it all up and we came up with like what our family record was. And so those are some of the times that I remember, especially in Stillwater, where it was like little league sports and we had, we were all three, me, Manny, and Ben, were all in the age where we were doing something but still doing everything kind of. So those talks were really special for our family and definitely took place. I mean, honestly, majority in Stillwater.
No, I mean, and like I said, outside of maybe seeing you, I think at Big 12 Media Days and last year when you and your mom were on the field before the game, I ran into you guys in Stillwater. My memories of Smacker Miles were that little kid that was running around and you were larger than life when you were a little kid. You had a big personality back then. So does not surprise me that you've gone into the career that you are, and I think you'll be really successful because you still have a big personality.
Thank
But
you.
what got you into? I mean, because your mom was a longtime basketball coach, dad obviously football, and I didn't think you would play college football, but Macy is an outstanding softball player, and we saw that Benny and Manny have both played college football. This is one thing that when you guys moved to Baton Rouge from Stillwater, what got you into swimming and diving? Or actually, not diving, swimming. What got you into
Yeah.
swimming?
Yes. Well, first off, I appreciate the people of Stillwater dealing with Little Smacker's large personality and the blonde fro that I had at the point at that time. And as far as swimming, I swam in Stillwater. I started swimming when I was 4 in Dallas, and then swam all the way through the second time in Stillwater. So the second time in Stillwater, I swam for the Stillwater Shockers, and
Okay.
it was a club team, but it was also a high school team. And when I was 8 years old, I started doing doubles. So I would wake up and I would practice a morning practice with the high school team, and that was the Stillwater High School team. And then I would go. We would go to McHale's Donuts, honestly, and then I would go to school, go about my day, and then come back for an afternoon practice that was more age appropriate with the people my age. So once again, my mom was making that sacrifice, and also it was a time for me to see dad in the morning. And my practices started at 6:30 at that point. It was just 6:30 to 7:30 in the morning, and I remember feeling really proud of myself that both of my parents understood that I was going to be a worker and that I was going to get up and I was going to do whatever it took to reach my goals. And I remember kind of having that bond with my parents as early as 8 because dad was getting up to go to football and I was up to go to swim practice. And I just remember how much they admired that and how much that meant to me at the time. And then I still did all the sports in Stillwater. So I was still doing softball and basketball and anything else. I'm sure there were a couple other things in there. And then when we got to Baton Rouge, basically the swimming I just got with the right team quicker, and then the softball was more just outskirts of Baton Rouge, if that makes sense. So it was like a farther drive to get to. Where I swam was actually on campus, on LSU's campus, at the natatorium that the college trained at. So that kind of just became more convenient almost. But my heart was kind of always in swimming. I think it was a little bit of just the oldest child trait of knowing that, that hard work could pay off. And I liked the individual sport thing. So I'm definitely the only Miles kid that went that route, but it was fun for me and I enjoyed every moment. I really did.
All right, let's transition. What you've talked how the times around the island at the weekend, talking about everybody's events and what the family record was. Doesn't really surprise me with your dad.
I know.
And I am sure when the family had really good weekends that there was a little hoopla there with your dad. Oh, the Miles family, we really crushed it this weekend. I mean, I can see that. Okay. Um, yeah, you're
A lot
laughing
of
because
over dramatic
yeah,
reenactments too. Like, don't think that the
yes.
plays didn't re-happen around the island.
I completely got you, but at the same time, the families cannot help but ride the same roller coaster that the head coach is on, and sometimes it's the highest highs. I mean, some of the beating Oklahoma in at Oklahoma State, those first 2 years for a fan base that was starved to beat their rival, um, and your dad took Oklahoma State to the Cotton Bowl. I mean, I grew up in Dallas, and Dave Hunziker and Tom Dorado, who was our color guy at the time, they'll tell you we're in the press box before that game with Ole Miss in the Cotton Bowl. Before we go on the air, and we're just talking about being there. That was my hometown bowl. I grew up going to Cotton Bowl games and saying, "God, it'd be great if Oklahoma State would be in the Cotton Bowl someday." And
That's so
those guys
cool.
will tell you the pregame. I teared up. I mean, this is my bowl game. This is where I grew up, and
Yeah.
Oklahoma State's finally playing in it. So, the highest highs, and then and now you went through the national championship at LSU, and I know now it's a struggle up in Lawrence, and I know that wears even though you're not living there, you care about your dad, and so it's tough to be a coach's kid riding that roller coaster, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It always has been, and it's just when you see one side of things. And I always tell the story. Macy, when couldn't have been more than 3 or 4, and she was crying after a game that she had not seen. We got beat, and she was in the kids' room, and then we picked her up, and she said, "Did we win?" And we said, "No." And that was it. There was no drama, and she just melted. And we were like, "Macy, what's wrong?" We're like, "Did something happen in the kids' room?" And she's like, Daddy works so hard. Daddy doesn't deserve to lose. Daddy doesn't deserve to ever get beat. And when you're seeing the work that's being put in and the heart and the emotional investment that's being put in, you just really, you want them to be able to win every game and to feel the joy that comes with all that hard work. So I think being a coach's kid is an experience unlike any other because it's also really torturous to not have any control. Dad gets to go to work and dad gets to fix things or motivate people and make people better. And we're just at home hoping that his day went well. And there's a lot of challenges that come with that, but it's also been added a lot of meaning, I think, because family is the people that love you more after the game, no matter what happened. And really the only population that you can honestly say that about. So I think it made our family closer throughout the years. And now both Miles boys are going into coaching. So this is not something that I would say, obviously, you can tell that neither boy is shying away from it and that it added meaning to their life. And it's something that they would even want to do themselves. So it's a testament to how fortunate we were overall. I understand that that's not everyone's experience as far as some people have to move much more or some people have just had more heartache over the years. But we've been blessed and it's been fun. And then I'm just really grateful that it made our family so close.
Wow, I was going to ask you what Manny was doing since he finished up his eligibility last year at Kansas. In fact, played in the game in Stillwater, and I think he'd thrown a touchdown pass in the game the week before the Jayhawks and Cowboys played here last year. So
Yes.
is he GAing? What's he doing?
Yes, he's a GA at Arkansas State. So
Okay.
his offensive coordinator at North Carolina is now at Arkansas State. So he is
Right.
there and with Coach Anderson, and he
Yeah.
loves it so far.
Yeah, Coach Anderson's a good man, and again, they had a huge win to start the season at Kansas State.
Yes, that was huge. We were excited for
So
them.
that was pretty good. All right, man. I mean, and again, my son went into coaching. He's been the head coach at NEO Junior College and is now defensive coordinator at another school. So I
That's
get
so
that. His
awesome. I didn't
mom,
know that.
oh yeah, and his mom curses me all the time. Why'd you encourage? I said, honey, I didn't encourage it. I mean, yeah, he wanted to get into coaching, so he played here at OSU, and in fact, he was on. He came in with Mike Gundy's first team after your dad left, so
Oh, that's
he went through the
awesome.
first 4 years with Coach Gundy. Um, all right, and I know Benny is still on the Benny's on the KU team. In fact, I don't know how closely you watch the games, but I watch them pretty close. Benny got a little chippy last week in Waco. I saw one play where he was, yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm really sick of you guys in these green uniforms, and he had a little extracurricular activity. Imagine that from a Miles.
Ben is a football guy, and Ben lives for football, and he talks about football all the time. And he comes over, and it's the same situation where he's reenacting his plays. I always notice him run out on the field, or I'll see him during warm-ups, and it's funny because it's like, oh, there's 29, that's Ben Miles, and it's like really sincere that it's still so exciting to see, like for me to see my little brother with Miles across their jersey, and for him to be in a college uniform, and they're taking the field at some of the nicest stadiums in the country, and getting to compete at a extremely the highest level. So that's been really fun for me to see. But then when the play actually starts, I watch the play like it's, dad's team. And so after the game, I'm like, I saw, a couple things. I'll see him like getting hyped before kickoff. And then as far as the actual plays, he's got to reenact it for us because I didn't see much.
Yeah, Smacker Miles with us, and she is a young broadcaster, sports broadcaster down in the Dallas area, and competed as a swimmer at the University of Texas, and the daughter of Les and Kathy Miles. Stillwaterite, a lot of her time growing up. And a couple of questions before we let you go. One, I feel like I cheated you on your athletic career. We talked a lot around it, but uh, you still get emotional and you still hook them, and is there some of that burnt orange running through there? And how'd you feel about your college career as a swimmer? Because that's a big. It's not in Stillwater, unfortunately, but at the University of Texas, that's a big time program, the swimming and diving program.
Absolutely. We won the Big 12 all 4 years I was there, and it was great because I was able to make some Big 12 finals at that meet. I never made NC2As, and I can honestly say that college sports are so humbling, and I think that that's something that all 4 miles kids will eventually say, even Macy having not gotten there yet, because you grow up and you see, dads recruiting 5 stars, and you see the steak dinners and, the offer from everywhere in the country, and you just imagine it to be that way. And you get there and you realize how competitive it is. So I am probably most proud of having made the 2012 Olympic trials. And then I had some shoulder surgeries, and honestly, it was not a tough ending as far as like my end goal was to go to Texas, and I wanted to compete a little better there. But as far as it being rewarding, I would do it all over again for sure. And my time on the 40 acres was unparalleled. I enjoyed it more than anything, and I am a Longhorn forever. But it just, you realize when you're on the other side of it how hard it is. And I think even in sports broadcast, it gives me a completely different perspective. A lot of people see the Les Miles' daughter perspective, or just the coach's kid in general perspective, and they don't understand how much compassion I have for any student athlete that is giving everything they have to their team. And those years are so tough, but they're also so rewarding. And it's something that I will encourage anyone towards, but also a little bit of a warning that you can put your blood, sweat, and tears into something, and that doesn't mean that you're going to be the number one draft pick. So it was amazing, and it was all worth it, but definitely kind of the first taste of realizing not everyone's a 5-star and not everyone goes to the league.
That is really well said. And let me tell you something. Don't ever, and I don't think you will because it's ingrained in you, but don't ever lose that perspective that and that compassion you have toward the athletes. Because I get in
Mhm.
trouble. Quite honestly, I get in trouble on this show sometimes the week after Oklahoma State loses a game.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not here. I'm not here sticking a fork in the kids because
Right.
I realized they didn't want to lose the game. They busted their
Mhm.
tail. They,
Yep.
and fans that don't have that same perspective you've got, they get a little more angry about it. They get a little more, chippy about it, and I don't. And it's just because when you've been around it and you've seen the work that goes in, you realize that okay, you may fail on Saturday, but
Mhm.
there is some virtue in putting the work in and going out there and making the effort. And the effort, as long as the
Absolutely.
effort's there, and now if there's no effort, and a couple of times with Oklahoma State, I've called it out and said, "Hey, these kids didn't play hard." I mean, yeah, hey, that's on them. But it's been very rare. Most of the time, I'm on that side that hey, don't ridicule these kids. They were busting their tail. They just got beat. It happens.
Mhm.
Along those lines, that takes me to the last. How hard has this been? Because your dad's been in a lot of situations. Obviously, when he was with Bob Simmons, the OC here, they were kind of up and coming. It was tough, but you knew what you were in for. At Dallas, kind of similar. The Cowboys were kind of up and coming at that time, and it was the NFL, which is kind of glamorous no matter what's going on. Here at Oklahoma State, your dad kind of helped prop this program up, and when Mike took it over, he just kept it going, and the thing took off. And at LSU, your dad had tremendous success, winning a national championship. But how hard is it to watch him go through this? Because let's be honest, Smack, that's a tough situation right now in Lawrence.
Absolutely. It's as tough as you're, crediting it to be. And I say that because I there's not been a loss that's easier than another loss. There just really hasn't been. There's been the games where we've played really great and hung in the game with some top teams in the country, and that one hurts just as bad. And I don't think it's there's you can see progress and still not feel a moral victory, if that makes sense. And I know that the recruiting has been much better and there's a lot of positivity around the program. But as far as the Miles family's any willingness to accept finishing second, as Dad would say, is just not there. And I don't think that's just kind of not how we were raised. And it definitely isn't any easier. And I can tell you, I was in Lawrence for the first game, and it was a 9 p.m. kick, and it did not go well. And no fans were allowed, so we were waiting at home. And Dad got home at 3 o'clock in the morning, probably, and we were at least up until 3. And at 7, his elliptical was going off, and I was being called into the elliptical room to take notes about how he wanted to coach the team and how he wanted to get positivity and energy in the building and what he wanted to do differently. So I can tell you that it's not ever for a lack of preparedness or effort or desire. And I just think, staying positive is the thing to do in all scenarios in life. And that's what we're doing, and just taking it one day at a time, because there really is a lot of room for improvement.
Well, I tell you one thing that this conversation certainly shown me. Yeah, you've grown in to being obviously your own person, but you are your parents' daughter. You are a product of Les and Kathy Miles, and that is obvious when you speak. So, hey, good luck with everything in Dallas and with the career. And if we can help you out on this end, let us know. But we'll be up in. I'm heading to Lawrence tomorrow, so looking forward to broadcasting that game. And
Hmm.
again, I appreciate you joining us. I thought this would be a unique perspective for fans to hear. the daughter of a head coach, and what what it was like growing up, and you delivered. So again, good luck with all your projects, and thanks for joining us, Smacker.
Thank you so much. It was really good catching up with you and hearing about your family too.
So, all right, appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again sometime soon, hopefully.
Sounds good.
All right, Smacker Miles, daughter of Kansas head coach Les Miles.